Alright guys, so this is part number 4 of the fairy glass cardigan crochet along slash tutorial, I guess. This section or part covers doing the armholes and another section of the body of the jacket. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright guys, so after finishing parts 3, this is kind of what it looks like. It's gotten way too big to fit all of it in the frame. But I also have the camera kind of close so that you guys can see the stitch work. So today we're working on part 4, which we'll be making the sleeve holes. I mean, maybe this is too close. Is it better? I hope that's better. I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust. Okay. So, to work the armholes, the pattern says work next round as 4th round in A2, fans and treble crochets. At the same time, work as follows. Work the first repetition as before. 1 repetition equals 1 treble crochet, 1 chain space, 1 fan, and 1 chain space. Work 1 treble in the next treble crochet, and then chain 40. So we're going to start with that because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and confuse anybody. So the first part says that we're going to be working just like we did before. And I like to fold my stuff under like that. I know it makes it difficult to see. I'm sorry, guys. So we're going to work 5 repetitions of the sequence for round 4 in A2. So we're going to chain 6 to start out with. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hope you guys are able to see this. I know I have a horrible habit of getting out of frame, and I am sorry about that. And then we're going to jump into the chain 2 space of the next fan, and we're going to put another fan stitch, which is 2 trebles, two chains, and then 2 trebles, all in that chain 2 space. Hopefully y'all aren't having problems with your yarn splitting. Mine tends to be a little splitty just because it's just 4 strands held together to get that color shift. And then when we complete the fan, we're going to chain 2. So this is actually repetition number 1, and we're going to repeat that 4 more times. So we're going to put a treble right here and this treble stitch here. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to put another fan. and then chain 2, and that completes repetition number 2. So you'll be able to count how many repetitions that you've repeated, or how many repetitions of the sequence that you've done by counting the chain or the fan stitches here. And you want to have 5 of them. Okay, so those are my 5 repetitions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, oh, don't roll away. My little raccoon. It's got a little raccoon. I mention that in every single one of the videos that I use this hook in. So after our 5 repetitions, we are going to work, depending on your size, 40 chain stitches for a small, 44 for a medium, or 48 for a large. Oh, hold on, I skipped a stitch. After we've got our 5 repetitions, we're going to treble. We're going to put one more treble. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to put a treble right here. Sorry, guys. I missed that part. Right there. So now, depending on what size you're making, you're going to chain either 40, 44, or 48 stitches. So I'm making a small, so I'll only be chaining 40 stitches and 40. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to skip the next fan. Let's see if I can kind of rotate my works a little more so you guys will be able to see. We're going to skip the next fan, which will be this one here. And the next 5, 6, or 7 repetitions, depending on what size you're making. So everybody's going to skip this fan right here. And I'm going to get a stitch marker so that it will, so I can show you guys a little better. At least in my head, I think it will. So we're automatically going to skip this fan. If you're making the size small, you're going to skip 5 repetitions. So for me, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to place my stitch marker there. You don't have to place a stitch marker. I'm just doing it for the video. So my next stitch should be a treble right here in this stitch. Now if you're making a medium, you're going to skip 6 repetitions. And if you're making a large, you're going to skip 7 repetitions. So what that means is for a small, I will have skipped 6 fans. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. For a medium, you will have skipped 7 fans. And for a large, you will have skipped 8 fans. And then you go right back into working round 4 of A2. So we're going to, immediately after those skipped repetitions, we're going to go into this treble here and place another treble. Now, that is the start of our first repetition. And because I'm making a small, I'm going to repeat I'm going to do the repetition 20 times till I get to the next armhole. So for those of you making a medium, you're going to do the repetition a total of 18 times, and for the large, you're going to do it a total of 16 times. I will do the repetition a total of 20 times, which means I'll have 20 fans and 20 trebles until I reach my next armhole. And you're just going to go back to that same sequence of stitches with a treble, chain 2, a fan stitch inside of the next fan stitch, I guess you would say. I think by now y'all kind of got the sequence, or what a fan stitch is. At least in this pattern, because some patterns would call this a V-stitch, or like a modified V-stitch. So I can pull this stitch marker out. I only put that stitch marker in there to kind of show you guys what I was doing a little better. So that's my first repetition, and I'm gonna have to do this 19 more times before I'll get to my next armhole. So I am going to meet back up with you guys when I have that finished. But just remember, if you're working the medium size, you need to repeat this repetition 18 times. And if you're working the large, you need to repeat it 16 times. Alright guys, so I have finished, well, after I chain this 2, I will have finished my 20th repetition. And you can see it's just, you know, it looks like all of the rest of it so far. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move this stuff out of the way. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put a treble right here into the very next treble stitch. After your last repetition or your last fan, you're going to place one more treble. So just like that. Now at this point, depending on your size that you're working on, you're going to chain either 40, 44, or 48. I'm doing a small, so I'm going to chain 40 again. 9 and 40. So we are going to skip the next 5, 6, or 7 repetitions. So for me it's going to be 5, for medium it'll be 6, and for large it'll be 7. So where's my chain? And a repetition. Oh, and you're going to skip this fan here just like we did for the other sleeve. You're just going to skip this fan, and then you're going to skip, in my case, 5 repetitions, which is 1 treble, 1 chain space, 1 fan, 1 chain space. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. For the medium, you're going to skip 6, and for the large, you're going to skip 7. So I'm just going to place a stitch marker right here so I don't lose this stitch when I go to pick up my hook and try to arrange my yarn. So we're going to place a treble stitch right here in this treble after the skipped repetitions. Just like that, and that will give you your second armhole. And then you're just gonna work the rest of your round like we did before. So we're going to chain 2, place a fan stitch in this one here, since we already have our treble. And then chain 2, and that's the first repetition. So it should be 5 repetitions to the end of the round, which is right here. So I've already done the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should be 5 repetitions to the end of the row, and you're just going to continue in that way so you get to the end of your round, and I will meet back up with you when I get there as well. Alright, so I am going to chain 2 and then join this round in the fourth chain of my starting chain. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like that. And now we have our 2 armholes. I know they look really big. And that's going to vary slightly depending on how tightly you crochet. So the next round that we're going to work is actually the 5th round in A2. If you're following along in the diagram. So we're going to slip stitch into the first chain space and chain 8, I think it is. Yep, chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, which is going to be our first double crochet, and then chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to place another double crochet into this chain 2 space here. Just like that. And then we're going to chain 5. 3, 4, 5. And we're going to place a double crochet into the fan stitch chain space. And then we're going to chain 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to place another double crochet into that same fan stitch. So we're going to continue this all the way. It's kind of a modified V-stitch. And we're going to continue this all the way till we get to our first chain, our first armhole. So, yeah. We're going to just be placing, it's kind of a modified V-stitch. I don't want to confuse people because there is a V sort of modified stitch here, but there's also chain 5s in between. So, but chain 5, jump into the next chain space and place a double crochet. Chain 5, place a double crochet in the same chain 2 space. Chain 5, place a double crochet in the next chain space. Chain 5, place a double crochet in the same chain 2 space. And I'm going to go ahead and continue with that until I reach my next armhole, and then I will meet up with you guys and show you guys how we are going to do the first armhole. Alright guys, so I have reached my armhole, and so I've made it around to my armhole. Now, the way that we do the armhole is going to differ a little bit depending on what size you're making, but for the small, you're going to put 6 repetitions of row 5 in diagram A2 in this chain space, and you're going to work around the chains, not into the chains. Now if you are doing a medium, it's going to be 7 repetitions, and if you're doing a large, it's going to be 8 repetitions. Now for this round, what 1 repetition consists of is, this is our first double crochet here. So 1 repetition of this round is 1 double crochet, chain 5, 2 double crochet, chain 5, and for 1 repetition, this is just for 1 repetition, it consists of this section right here. So you've got the two double crochets with the chain 5 in between, plus the chain 5 here, and then you've got your double crochet, chain 5, double crochet in the fan stitch, and you're going to repeat this right here 6 times, stopping with a chain 5. So this is your sequence here, and I hope I'm making this, like, I hope you guys can understand me on this one, because I know it can be a little bit confusing. So this is the first repetition, and then if you look here, like, that's 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets, and then a chain 5. That would be your second repetition, if that makes sense. If you guys don't understand what I'm trying to say, let me know in the comments, and I will try to help you as best I can, because like I said, I know this part can be a little bit confusing, because 1 repetition actually consists of 3 of these double crochet, chain 5, double crochet stitches with a chain 5 tacked on the end. Where did my hook go? So I am going to chain 5 right here, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to start my repetitions into this 40 chain stitches. So this chain 5 does not count as part of the first repetition. That is actually part of the last repetition here. The way I do it in my head is I break it up into sections. So it's going to be a V-stitch with a chain 5. And then another V-stitch with a chain 5, but there's also a chain 5 in between, if that makes sense. And then I chain 5 and do my third V-stitch. That's kind of how I break it up in my head, with V-stitches being double crochet, chain 5, double crochet. So that is gonna be most of my first repetition. You have to remember that for one repetition, it ends on a chain 5. So 1, 2, 2, 2. Come on. I'm sorry guys, this yarn, as much as I love it, it can be very splitty, especially if I get to crocheting too fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one full repetition of round 5, A2. And for me, I'm going to repeat this repetition 6 times over the chain space that makes up the armhole. For a medium, you will repeat that repetition 7 times over your chain space. And for the large, you're going to repeat it 8 times. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and meet back up with you guys. And then I will show you what it looks like. And you are going to have to kind of push these guys back a little bit, but don't push them too far back because you kind of want them to be a little bit evenly spaced. But anyways, I will meet back up with you guys here in a bit. Okay, so I've finished the armhole section, and it looks a bit twisty and ruffly, which it's supposed to look like that. And I was doing some math. If you're doing a small, you should have 36 double crochets over your chain space, and you should have, all of them should have chain 5s in between. If you are doing a medium, you should have 42 double crochets over your chain space. And if you are doing a large, you should have 48 double crochets in this chain space, all with chain 5s in between to give you this kind of ruffly effect. And let me just kind of move this around here. So after your last double crochet, for me it's 36, you're going to chain 5 to complete that repetition. So that's actually, that chain 5 completes my 6th repetition over the sleeve hole. And then we are going to go back to doing as we were before with the double crochet in the chain 2 space, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then double crochet into that same chain 2 space. And if I'd have looked at the pattern a little bit closer, it tells me how many double crochets are supposed to be in the armhole, and I'm silly and didn't bother to look that far ahead. So we're gonna go back to doing the fifth row of diagram A2 until we get to the next armhole, and I will meet back up with you guys for that. Okay, I'm back. So you can see I was just doing the double crochets with the chain 5s in between, 2 double crochets in each chain 2 space. And I'm going to chain 5, and I think I totally got that out of frame. I'm sorry about that, guys. And I'm at my next armhole here. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to place 36 double crochets into this chain space, and there's going to be a chain 5 in between each double crochet. Now for the medium it's going to be 42, and for the large it's going to be 48. Hello, Kiwi. So we're just going to go along here, placing 36, or placing whichever number that you're doing or you need for your size into this chain space with a chain 5 in between each double crochet. Kiwi's over here still in pistachios. So I'm gonna go ahead and meet back up with you guys once I get past my or to the end of my armhole, because for some reason this part is like really hard for me to film. So I'll meet back up with you guys here in a couple minutes. Okay, so I've got my 36 double crochets over my armhole chain space. I need to go in and kind of space them out a little bit evenly. Some of these are kind of bunched up or whatever. Kind of bring them around that way. But rotate this a bit. So I'm going to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to place a double crochet into the next chain 2 space, which is right here. And then I'm going to chain 5, and then I'm going to put another double crochet into that chain 2 space. So we're just going to go back to what we were doing before the armholes. I guess I can remove this stitch marker. I'm not entirely sure why it's there. Don't remember why. So we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Moving on to the next chain 2 space, we're going to put another double crochet then chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and place another double crochet in the same chain 2 space. And we're going to continue in that manner until we get all the way back around to our beginning starting chain. So I will meet back up with you guys as soon as I get there. Hopefully it won't take me too long. Okay guys, so I'm back at the beginning of my round, and I have already chained 5 and then slip stitched into the third chain of my starting chain to join the round. Now you should have a total, regardless of the size that you're making, you should have a total of 252 double crochets with chain 5s in between. So there should be 252 double crochets, and every single double crochet should have a chain 5 space in between. So this is what it's looking like. You can see my colors are starting to shift again. I hope that this doesn't get too light for you guys to see. My yarn shifts to a gray color. So for the next round, we're going to work the second round in diagram A4. Let me find A4. Shift around my papers here. So you're going to work A4A, which just shows you how the round starts, excuse me. And then you're going to continue with A4B. And you're going to continue to do A4B 10 times evenly on the round, which approximately, and this is just what the pattern says, approximately it will be every 4th repetition work A5B instead of A5 or A4B to increase. And see, this is another part that can get really confusing. So to start the round off, I'm going to show you how to do A4. Okay, so during my shuffling of papers, I accidentally hit the button to stop recording, which is funny because I was like talking to y'all the whole time. But anyways, to start the next round, I don't know if y'all were able to, I don't know if the camera picked up me talking about the next round and how it can be a little bit confusing, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys how to work it. It is not any different regardless of the size that you're doing, so it doesn't matter what size you're going to do or you're making. This round is going to be the same. So we are working from the second round in A4. So we're going to slip stitch into our first. Okay, maybe we're going to slip stitch into our first chain space. If I could make it work the way I want it. And then we're going to chain 4. 6. We're going to chain 6, which is going to count as a treble crochet plus 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then this might seem a little bit complicated, but I'm just going to show you how I do it. I'm going to ignore these chain spaces probably entirely, and I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3 double crochets. After I've skipped 3 double crochets, the next chain space is where I'm going to place my fan stitch. So I'm going to place a treble, another treble, a chain 2, and then 2 more trebles in this same chain space. And just because this is kind of crinkly right here and it can make it look a little bit confusing, I'm going to go ahead and mark where my round started, just so I don't get confused as to what this is here. And so I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. And this is actually the end of the repetition here. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys, because I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of them, because we're actually going to be switching at a few different points to working a 5. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to skip 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and actually no, it's going to be 3. It's going to be 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put a treble in that space. My yarn is splitty. And then we're going to chain 2, skip 3 of these double crochets from the previous round, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to place a fan stitch into the following chain space here. And then we're going to chain 2. So for this round, we are actually going to do this one more time, and then we're going to switch from working a 4 to working a 5. So skipping 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, we're going to put a treble in the following chain space. I'm going to chain 2, skip 3 double crochets, 1, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put a fan stitch right here, or a fan right here in this chain space. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2. That chain 2 actually ends the sequence for diagram A4. So at this point, this will be our fourth one, our fourth, I guess you could say, it's going to be at this point that we're going to switch from working diagram A4 to working diagram A5. For A5, we're going to skip 3 double crochets, so 1, 2, 3, and we're going to place a treble into that stitch, or into that chain space. 1, 2, 3 to make it a treble. And then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to skip 2 double crochets, 1, 2. And we're going to be working in this chain space here. So we're going to skip 2 double crochets, 1, 2, work in this, the following chain space here, and we're going to put a fan stitch. Chain 2. Just like that. And then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to jump right into the very next chain space and work another treble. And then we'll chain 2, and we're going to skip 2 double crochets, so this one and this one, and we're going to place another fan right in this chain space here. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2. Now, that chain 2 ends diagram A5. And so what we're going to do is we're going to switch back to working A4. And you will work A4 3 times. The second round of A4 you will work 3 times before switching again to the second round of A5. So let me turn my work here a little bit so y'all can see what I'm doing. At this point, we're going to switch back to A4. So we are going to, following the diagrams, we're going to skip 1 double crochet. If I can get my yarn where I want it. And then we're going to put a treble right here in the following chain space. Uh-oh. And we're going to chain 2. And we're going to skip 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to place another fan. It's 1, 2, 3 to make it a treble. Ugh, dang splitty yarn. Chain 2, 1, 2, 3 to make it a treble. Sorry about, I talk to myself sometimes when I'm crocheting. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if other people like count out loud or whatever, but so after our fan, we are going to chain 2. And we're going to skip 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and start doing a 4 again by putting a treble in the chain space just after the 3rd double crochet. So you're going to do that. You're going to repeat a 4 3 times, and then you're going to switch and work A5. When you're finished with A5, you're going to switch back to diagram A4 and work it 3 times. Now, I'm going to let you guys do that. And I will meet back up with you when I get all the way around. When you reach the end of your round, you should have 52 repetitions of A4. Basically, what we're doing is we're increasing the number of fan stitches around. I'm gonna let you guys work on this round, and I'll meet back up with you when I get all the way around, and then we'll discuss it a little bit further. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and you should have 52 of these fans for this round. So I've got my chain 2, and I'm gonna skip 3. So 1, 2, and this is my starting chain, which counts as 3 because we slip stitched into this chain space at the beginning. And I'm going to slip stitch into the 4th chain of my starting chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And I pulled the camera view out so that you guys could see how it is turning out. So I'm just going to put this stitch marker right there so I don't drop any stitches or whatever. You can see mine's really like starting to change to a pinky color. So this round here, this is the double crochet chain 5s. That round is supposed to look kind of ruffly, and I know that if you lay it flat, these new fan stitches do not line up with these previous fan stitches. That is because in this last row we have actually increased the number of fans. So in the next couple of rounds, these fans that we just made are going to start looking like this section down here. But this is what it is starting to look like from the center out. Again, I can't fit it all in frame. And then this is what the armholes look like. So let me get back over here. I just wanted to show you a little bit of how it looks. We're going to take this, and I guess I could readjust the camera so that it's a little bit closer and you guys will be able to see my stitches as I'm working. I'm going to pull this out. And get this stuff out of the way. So now we're going to work from the second round in A2. So we're going to switch back to diagram A2. And we're going to work from the second round in A2. We're going to work A2 for 52 repetitions, the second round, and then we're going to work the third round of A2 for the next round, and then we will work the fourth round of A2 3, 4, or 5 times depending on what size you are making. So let's go ahead and start with A2, and this section is very similar to the one that we worked down here. So we're just going to be slip stitching into the next chain space. Right? Yep. And we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that counts as our first treble as well as a chain 2. And then we're going to be placing a fan inside the chain 2 space of this fan here. And then we're going to chain 2, jump over to the next treble from the previous round and place another treble. Chain 2, place another fan stitch into the fan from the previous round. And we're just going to be repeating that all the way around until we get back to the beginning of our round. And I will meet back up with you guys when I get there. Okay, so I've made it back around and I've already chained 2 and joined my round into the 4th chain of my starting chain. So for the next couple of rounds, you are just going to go ahead and repeat that round. There's no changes really. I know that the written pattern kind of makes it sound like there's gonna be changes, but there's not. And actually, at the start of this round, I had said to slip stitch into the chain space. You don't actually have to do that. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. Because once you have this row finished, every row after that is pretty much the same until you have, for a small, you should have 6 rows. You'll have a total of 6 of these, similar to what we had down here. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, 2. It's the same thing. You're just going to repeat this round until you have a total of 6 rows that have fan stitches in them. And there's no changes. And at the end of each round, you're just going to slip stitch and join it to the 4th chain of your starting chain. And then that is, well, hold on. For a medium, you're going to need 7 rounds. For a medium, you're going to do 7 rounds of, so you'll repeat this round 5 more times. And then for a large, you'll repeat it a total of 6 more times. Until you have a count of 6, 7, or 8, depending on the size that you're making. And then that's it for part 2. And I will meet back up with you guys later in the next video to do part 5. Okay, so that is what I have for you guys this week as far as the fairy glass cardigan goes. Now I have been trying to do this crochet along and release the videos every Monday, but I'm not going to guarantee that I will have part 5 finished by next Monday, because I've kind of got a lot on my plate right now. I got, some requests for some more amigurumi toys from a local haunted house, and so they wanted some spooky amigurumi toys that they could put in their gift shop. So I'm trying to churn those out as quickly as I can. I also still have the fireman teddy bear that I'm still working on, and all of these things have deadlines on them. So if I can get to it, I will. If not, I'm sorry about that. If I do miss next Monday, I apologize for it in advance. Let me know in the comments below, guys, if you're working on this cardigan with me. Let me know what you think as far as the quality of the videos, whether or not you're able to follow along. And of course I will put the link to the free pattern is always down in the description box below, so you guys can check it out if you want. And I will also link parts 1, 2, and 3 in the description box. Each one of the videos will have all of the links to all of the videos in them. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye.